Greetings and welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Don Cardenas, and today I'm joined by two fantastically talented. I can't talk today. This seems to be the theme of the day in the past few episodes, to be honest. But I have two very talented gentlemen with me today. First up is a returning guest and bud, Gavin Smith. Second is a first-time guest, but still a bud, Rich Doueik. Gentlemen,
hey,
welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah. If you've missed my first interview with Gavin a couple years ago, long story short, I met Gavin the first time I tabled at a show in Appleseed. Was that 2014 maybe? I don't know. 2013, I think.
That sounds right.
And you I don't know how fresh out of school you were, but you had Human City.
Probably about 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
And then
did I have accelerators back then?
Yeah. Accelerators.
Maybe.
Yeah, you were doing that.
Okay.
And then just seeing your rise and, getting a chance to do some awesome creator owned work, doing Ninja Turtles. This has been awesome. And with this book with Rich, HEARTPIERCER, which I had a chance to read. Thank you very much. And is really, really awesome. So glad to see your just progress and just success in getting to do cool projects and just how your art's progressed. You were good. You were good back then, and this is better and better now.
I appreciate
Rich. That. I think we met through maybe Joel Mulvey.
Yeah, I think so. C2E2, right?
I think we had some pizza with with good old Joe
dish.
And Alex McCormick, another amazing artist, and some other fine folk. But your work has just been stellar throughout the years as well. I'm so glad to finally get you on, because I've wanted to have you on for a while, and I kept meaning whenever you had a new project come on, I'm like, oh, I should get Rich on, and it just the timing didn't work out or what have you. But now here we are. HEARTPIERCER, it's coming out from Dark Horse. It's an amazing book, and it's a really great dark fantasy story, and I can't wait to chat a little bit more about it. But rule of the show is we got to do this first. So gentlemen, comics, coffee, metal, what are you digging right now? We can start with Gavin.
All right. I guess I'll start with like my coffee order, or I guess my ritual. I'll pound like one of those little Starbucks cans of like the double shot espresso with cream. Like I'll start the day with one of those, and then I have like I'll usually get like a 4-pack of them from Kroger and then re-up or whatever. But and then I'll get coffee beans from this local coffee place called Bovacansi that's like down the street from me, and I'll grind that up every day and make myself a pot of that. And I'm drinking a crazy amount of coffee lately. Comics, last thing I read that was really good just came out. It's on the Comixology, so if you have Amazon Prime, you can read it for free. But it's called Hardstyle Juice, and it's Ricardo Lopez Ortiz, and I think Clay McCormick is the writer on that. I could be wrong, but I think it's Clay McCormick. Yeah, Clay McCormick, and it's really good. Very, if you like do a power bomb, or do a power bomb, you'll love this. Kind of the same vibe, but drawn by Ricardo, who's awesome. And metal. Today I was listening to. I don't know how old this album is. It kind of popped up on my shuffle from the I listened to a lot of The Armed, but it came up after I was done with their new album. Like it just kind of shuffled like similar artists, and it was a new Converge thing, and it was I think What We Love We Leave Behind, I think is what it's called. But like I've loved Converge for a long time, but like I hadn't heard like this album yet. And like the title track off that album is like incredible. Cool. So that's what I'm digging.
Awesome. I think you talked about The Armed last time you were on too, possibly.
Yeah, they're good friends of mine. So like they put out a new album since then, like maybe about I want to say 6 months ago, and it's really good.
Cool.
So yeah, the singer Tony is a friend of mine.
Oh, awesome. Well, Rich, how about you? You're a parent, so I would be shocked if there's not some sort of coffee and involved in the mornings for you.
like America, I run on Dunkin'. That's that's my thing. But like I brew it at home now. But like I go to like Dunkin' Donuts and get the like the beans, and yeah, I start every day with a large cup of coffee and sit down after the kids get off to school. Sit down with my coffee, play some Wordle.
Nice, nice.
That's kind of like my mental gymnastics, like kind of like get my brain going in the morning, and yeah, and then whatever's left in the pot becomes my afternoon iced coffee to
Nice.
get me ready for the rest of the day in the evening, because I always start to drag like around like I don't know like 4 or 5, so I need a little boost. Yeah, comics. Let's see. I really been digging. Oni Press has been putting out this series called Night People. My friend Chris Condon's writing it, so I kind of get to see like the issues like a little bit early. I don't know if I don't want to get him in trouble with Oni, but it's just been really great like throughout. He's working with a lot of like really cool, like a different artist each issue. So like issue 1 was Brian Level, issue 2 is Alexander Tefengi. I'm not sure who the rest of the ones are, but I think there's like 5 or 6 issues total. But it's an adaptation of like a Barry Gifford novel. And adapting other stuff to comics is always tricky, but I think they're doing like a really good job of it, considering that it's a pretty like fucked up book to begin with, and it's making like an even more kind of like twisted comic. But I've been really enjoying it. It's got like it's kind of like weird like Twin Peaksy kind of like vibe to it that I really dig.
Nice.
Yeah, as far as like metal goes, I'll stray a little bit from metal. One band that I've been really getting into lately is this band called Horror, but they write it HO9909. It's a little weird, but they're
I think I've seen them pop up in some places. So
yeah, they're kind of like a punk slash rap group, like it's weird, like some of their songs just sound like this like crazy tripped out like cyberpunk hip hop, and like other songs are just like straight up punk songs. I think that's like one of the things that I find like really cool about them is that it just sort of seems like they just do what the fuck they want to do, and they don't like worry about like sticking to like a certain genre or you know like way that they're like supposed to be doing stuff. But been really like it's one of those things that it just sort of like popped up randomly in like a radio playlist or something, and I was just like, wait a minute, like I got to do a deep dive into these guys, and I really liked everything I heard so far. So
nice.
Yeah.
As I broadened my musical listening landscape in the past few years, mainly for this show, but also just in general. I even if I don't like a band like that, not to say I don't like them, I just in the general sense of it, I still just immensely respect like just I'm gonna do what the fuck I want. There's a band called 12 Foot Ninja, which is it's technically a metal band, but they do like hard cuts into like wildly different genres within songs, and I can't listen to it, but I respect the hell out of their musicianship in doing so. But also like just the fact that they're doing that. It's like it's one of the amazing things about people being able to make music at a professional level at their desk, plugging their guitar in their computer and not needing anything else except the programs on there, and just being able to just do whatever the fucked up thing is in their head and getting it out to the world. Much like comics.
Yeah.
I have to appreciate your morning ritual because it's very similar to mine. Whether it's coming home from the gym in the morning or just waking up I get my coffee, I get the kids ready, I sit down with breakfast, I open up Wordle, and then after
See,
Wordle, I
I'm a
do
words with
spelling
friends
bee,
guy.
and then I go to the mini
Yeah.
crossword, and then I do connections, and then I'm done. Uh, the
Wow.
faster I do them, the better. But that's my
Yeah.
mental gymnastics for the mornings too. It's like, okay, my brain's ready, I guess. Or not. Awesome. So you guys were speaking of sending stuff earlier. You guys were nice enough to send me the first issue of Heartpiercer before it came out, and I really enjoyed it. We're talking a little bit before the show about, I really appreciated it being just such a dark fantasy take. Uh, that because I'm sure it's out there, but I haven't seen a lot of that kind of fantasy story being told lately. There's a lot of stuff that's more lighthearted or light leaning or comedic
Mhm.
with that, which is fine. It all has a place, but I would like to see more of this kind of stuff. I kind of mentioned that it would give John Milius palpitations when I spoke about it on Twitter, and I meant that. It seems like something. It seemed like a movie like I would remember watching when I was a kid and being like, man, that was a really badass fucking movie. What was that movie? And then I come across it and just seeing like I was just but it's good. It's actually good and not just my memory thinking it. If that's,
Right.
it's kind of the same way my brain worked with Skeeters from Kelly Williams and Bob France and Kevin Cuff,
Mhm.
where it was very much like an 80s splatter uh monster movie, but good,
Yeah.
like really well done.
Mhm.
Like the characters you cared
Yeah.
about, like it wasn't just a feature for the special effects or whatever. And Heartpiercer is very much the same way for me, where it's like I care about these characters. Even in just this first issue, you guys did a fantastic job building this world, giving us these huge stakes, giving this setup as to why the main character is going to be going on this epic quest. And you know not to, I hope I'm not really spoiling anything by saying this, having a main character whose weapon of choice is a fucking unicorn horn. I just love it
Yeah.
because it's just so like, yes, of course. Of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
And maybe she drops it in the next issue and it's something else or whatever, but like it doesn't matter. Like that was just perfection to me. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, please give me that. It's like the equivalent of like John Wick killing a dude with a book. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
the unicorn. Like this is what we need. So when Heartpiercer was kind of forming out, like how did this collaboration between you two gentlemen come? Was it Rich approached Gavin approached Rich, or you just kind of like came together at the same time?
Uh, um. Well, Rich was doing Wailing Blade at the time, and he had asked if I wanted to do a pinup for it, but I really liked the idea he had behind his pinups because he was pairing up other writers with a pinup artist, and they would do a pinup based on a short story they'd write.
Oh, okay.
So he paired me up with Kenny Porter, and like so Rich was kind of like the editor in this case, where he's like, yeah, like you two are gonna work on this. Here's Kenny Porter's short story, and then I did like a splash page illustration for it. I really like that splash page, and we were just kind of talking after that, and it was just like, yeah, we should do something together, uh, and it was just kind of one of those things like, yeah, we're gonna do this because like we actually liked each other's work and each other, which uh, I've made this joke before, but like sometimes I've worked with people where only one of those was the case, so luckily both of those um, applied here, and but yeah, like he showed me a couple pitches, and I think the one that stood out to me was this. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I met Gavin, I think when, yeah, it's like when you were doing Dead Legends with James
James,
Maddox,
yeah.
like we were all just, at some con or another, I forget which, but
Mhm.
just, kind of hanging out and
Yeah.
like became friendly and I was always like a big fan of his art
Yeah.
and yeah, like for the Wailing Blade book, like this was like I think when we were kickstarting the like the collected edition and we wanted to do some extra content, but we didn't really have the time to like put together, like if we wanted to do like fully illustrated short stories. But I just had the idea of like, I know so many talented writers and so many talented artists where like, if I couldn't nail down Gavin for like 5 pages of sequentials, maybe I could nail him down for, just do like
Yeah.
a spot illustration or something. So, so I think, I forget how many stories, but we had a whole bunch in there. Each one had like, you know, really nice like illustration to go with it. And yeah, and that just got us talking. Like, yeah, we should do something together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think we'd kind of done something in the past. I'm
did
trying
we?
to think. Did I do? I think I did like a short for Gutter Magic like a long time ago.
Yeah,
But
I
like I
think
don't know if you wrote that or someone else wrote it, and
it
it
might
was
have
gonna. It
been.
was like I think it was like post IDW Gutter Magic.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, there were like two stories. You might have done the one because Kenny wrote one of those too.
I don't think it
Then
was with Kenny though.
no, yeah, I'm kind of blanking on it, but I think it was like a 5 page story.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just now remembering that, by the
yeah,
way. Like
I
this is
am
really
too,
funny. Yeah.
and I'm like kicking myself for not remembering who the writer was, but
I don't even know if I like have files of those pages anymore because it
oh
was
my
on my old
god,
computer. So like yeah.
oh
It's
It might have been when Gutter Magic was at the other company.
yeah, no, I think it was I did like a Kickstarter for it,
Okay.
um, of like basically like short stories. Let me see.
it's kind of funny. Gavin, you've drawn probably hundreds of comics at this point. Um,
God.
and I have not. But I've gotten to the point now to where I've drawn enough to where I'm like, oh wait, I don't have this on my current device. No, I don't have this on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Where did that
I
page
just
go?
bought a new computer. I want to say like God, when did I buy this thing? February maybe. So like not that long ago, I bought what I'm talking to you on now. Just because it was like it was weird because like my computer was just like on death's door, and it was to the point where I was just like, this isn't working anymore. So I just went and just bought a straight up new computer. But also my old computer was from like 2012.
Mhm.
So like I got everything that it was worth out of it. But
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
especially these days with how heavy things get updated and there's the weight of
yeah,
programs. Like the computer I'm using right now, the PC I built that in winter of 2019, like December
yeah,
2019, which was probably the best time to build it for the past few years because after that everything went crazy with graphics
hmm
cards
Mhm.
and everything being crypto mining killed
Yeah.
instant prices on everything.
right,
But like even then, like I bought, it wasn't like top of the line, but it was definitely like I did a lot of
yeah,
research and I had a lot of like really solid components. But like even now, like 4 years later, like 4 or 5 years later, it's like, oh yeah, some stuff's running a little rougher. It's like, geez, it feels like I just made this thing, and
right, right,
it's really hard to imagine like having a piece of technology for like 10 years.
yeah,
you know
yeah.
I mean, like
Uh,
we my wife's first iPad was like 2014 and it just
Mhm.
now like died.
oh wow,
And even then, like it's not dead, like I could still fix it. It's like the charging port, but you have to like solder on a PCB board, and I that's beyond my skill level. I can change a
Mhm.
screen or whatever, but like get
yeah,
to minute soldering stuff. But like just the fact that it lasted that long, I think is just uh crazy these days, but also like kind of depressing. It's like because
yeah,
now
yeah.
because you have to plan for these, this planned obsolescence of things, of all that. But
Right.
anyway, off topic. But
Yeah.
but so basically, you guys wanted to work together. The perfect thing came up, and you guys jammed on it. Now, was the story
Yeah.
how do you guys like work out with the story? Is it basically like Rich is like, I got it, I'll send you the scripts, you do you, or as you guys like come together, like, okay, what do you want to draw, what are you looking to do, bat ideas back and forth, how does that process go?
I'll let you take this one, Rich.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I always want to, I want to work with Gavin, but like any artist I work with, I want to like give them stuff that they want to draw. So, you know, um, when we first decided to work together, I think I sent like maybe like 3 ideas or something
Something
that
like
were
that,
just,
yeah.
yeah, something like that. And they were all like different genres because, it was like I had a fantasy one, a science fiction one. I think maybe one was like a cyberpunk one or something like
I
that.
think
I don't
maybe
know.
one of them might have been like Drive Like Hell
It
too.
might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is awesome because
I
like
mean,
I think
I've had that idea in my head for like a really long time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's entirely possible. Um,
And then
but
I don't think I wanted to draw car chase scenes that
yeah,
much.
no,
So like
Alex
Cars or
kudos
horses?
Alex
to
which one
Alex.
which
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
Alex is insane. But yeah, I told him, I was like, when I said that to him, I was like, I'm like, you sure you want to draw? It's going to be a lot of cars. And he's like, I want it. And I'm like, all right. So
Maniac.
it's like, no complaints though. Like you're not
Yeah.
allowed to complain about drawing cars. Um, but yeah, so
I chose the book with 0 cars.
yeah,
Zero
so
chance of them
so
ever
yeah,
coming back, for sure.
Yeah.
so I had like the basic story idea, and then like obviously I write the scripts and stuff. But there's definitely like back and forth like as we're going through it, like because Gavin is doing a lot of amazing design work, not just with like the characters, but also with like the world and stuff like that. So like as we talk through that, um, you know, that definitely changes how I approach the story and what I include. Like I know there's one character, Blight Eye, and she's kind of like this like human crow hybrid,
Yeah.
like sorcerer type person. And
Yeah. It's my favorite
I
character to
know
draw.
Gavin was like immediately like really drawn to her like as a character and did an amazing design for her. And I was like okay, like it was kind of like I really like the character, but I didn't have like a huge role plan for her, in at least in like this first arc. It was going to be more like she's going to be kind of like in the background a little bit more, and like maybe bring her in like future arcs a little bit more. But um, you know, like I said, like Gavin loved her and was like really psyched about drawing her, and floated like a couple of like really cool ideas for just like things she could be doing, and I was more than happy to incorporate them.
Yeah.
And it really, I think that's when you get like really great comics work, is when you kind of like can like bounce stuff off each other and feed off each other's excitement, and like really like if somebody's like it doesn't matter like where the idea comes from,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just as long as it's a good one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not distracted. I'm looking at the design because I'm looking at the issue you sent me, because you remind me, like, yeah, it is a killer design for that character. Even the antagonist, Kern, like, just how you have like
Oh
the
yeah.
branches
Mm-hmm.
on the
Oh
armor,
yeah.
kind of simulating a skeleton, and just kind of armored. It's they're almost like veins and all that. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this book is full of just
It's
amazingly cool
it's
designs.
it was really fun to design. And then I was like, oh, I gotta draw this guy panel after panel. So there's a lot about this book that like I really like, but it does make me slow down a little bit because of stuff like that, which tends to make me draw a lot better. There's a lot of love like put into this book, and it's really nice that Dark Horse has given us like a lot of time to like get this done and do it right. Um, because I think it does require that attention, especially
Yeah.
with this world that we're building. And like, I don't know, it's been really nice.
Well, it really comes
Uh,
across that you're having a
yeah,
lot of fun drawing this book.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's from, you know, I'm not going to say what it is, but from the group of bad guys at the end, I think was, you know, looked fantastic. You know,
Mm,
Oh,
as someone as a
wait until
of
issue 3
oh,
with a
yeah.
lot more of those guys.
oh, really?
A
Okay.
lot more.
Oh, awesome,
Um,
awesome.
I mean, I don't mind saying it. Like
Oh yeah, yeah,
we do a whole fucking werewolf war
yeah.
Oh,
or battle at one point, and it's
well,
insane.
now I'm even more. You know, I was excited to see issue 2, and now
Yeah.
I'm just like gonna have to mark my calendars and set a timer for myself because
I think issue 2 is the tamest of
okay.
all of it. And even
Yeah.
then we still do some crazy stuff in it. But like
Well, yeah,
issue 2 is in comparison to the other to the of the
you need
4.
the tame moments to make
Yeah.
the scary big fucked up moments pop.
Yeah.
You know,
Issue two is like, yeah, it's like the calm before the storm kind
Oh
of
if
like,
yeah.
everything's nuts, then nothing's nuts. You know,
yeah,
Right.
it's just how it is. But yeah, yeah, just looking at the art here, and yeah, it just feels like you're just having a fantastic time drawing it. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if we've ever spoken about this before, but like your influences, Gavin, in terms of your art, like I'm seeing a, you know, from here I'm seeing like Neil Adamsy almost kind of stuff pop through.
I'll take that.
I'm not sure if you, yeah, but judging by the thumbs up you just gave me,
Yeah.
it seems like that. Yes, that
I
is one of
get
your influences. Yeah.
yeah, he's one of them. I mean, obviously, like if anybody knows about my past, I'm a Kubert guy as well, Joe Kubert
Hmm.
guy. Bolland, I like Bolland a lot. Oh, who else? And then like, but then like I kind of like mix into like noir folks too. So like I like Sean Phillips a lot. Um, I
Okay.
don't, and I try to use like whenever I get a chance to use like heavy blacks the way he does, and I don't know. Then I'm a texture guy, but then like at some point, like I get all these influences and I bring those come in. Then I don't think I draw like any of them. But like, which is kind of nice at this point. It's like, oh, I've stopped like actively try to draw a panel the way like Brian Bolland will do it, and
Yeah.
now I'm drawing like myself, which is a cool evolution that I've noticed the past couple years.
Well,
Um,
for a while now, like you know, I could easily say like, oh, that's Gavin. You know, if especially like a face,
that's the
like that's
best,
Gavin
yeah,
for sure. And I see I can see the influences, but it is definitely part of the Gavin stew, and not like, oh, he draws just like X. You know,
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
sorry, I don't mean the Gavin
No,
stew.
that's great. I
That's just
love that. Gavin's too.
um, it's just and your faces of has always had this kind of quality to it that as you've refined your style and all that, I can see the Adams influence in there. But I would, if you showed me it, I wouldn't say like, oh, that's a Neil Adams face. Like, no, that's Gavin's face. I just can tell that
Hmm.
that's just one of his touchstones, but that's
Yeah,
not a Neil Adams face. And with the heavy blacks and all that, and the keyword, I see a lot of the keyword stuff like just like in the foundational stuff with like the pacing and the movement of things. And again,
yeah,
it's not like I'm reading this saying, oh, that's this, that's this, that's this. It's all
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
reading Gavin. But it's, you know, when we do what we do and we're like, okay, you know, this is cool.
Right.
What the fuck did he do? Like, you know, where did that come
Yeah.
from? You know,
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
definitely have those bits in here where I'm like, especially with the werewolves, where I'm like, because you know, not to spoil anything, but I'm gonna have to be drawing a lot of werewolves myself soon. So like,
Yeah.
ooh,
you know, I'm like, okay, how did he do it? Okay, let me see,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you got
Just a lot of
you got to figure out your way to do the werewolves too, because everyone does them a little differently. But
yeah, and like and that and especially like now that I've already spoiled it, like I think when we get into issue 3 and I have to draw like a whole mess of them,
mhm,
then I'm just like, oh God, how do I do this? Like, and then,
mhm.
I'm like, okay, how do I try to make these guys different? And like, I think like there's like one quiet moment in issue 3 where like I had a really funny moment. I feel like again, like where like it's like everyone like sees something and they're all kind of like looking off panel, and I have like one werewolf with like his tongue kind of off to the side, and he's like and
Nice.
like I just kind of looked at my dog when I was doing that, and I was like, oh hey.
Nice, nice,
And just a little
nice.
corgi, but like um I don't know, like I was trying also not to look at too many werewolves. I was actually trying to look more at just like pictures of dogs, just so I could get variety. um
Yeah, that's definitely something, again, because I'll mention it, because if someone likes the idea, please go do it. But something I'm like planning on doing with our werewolves is like, I want to like just go beyond the fact that they're all one color. Like, I want to give
yeah.
them spots and
Yeah.
patterns and stuff. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
I wanted to
Mhm.
do that with my first book, Packs of the Low Country, because we had these giant. They weren't werewolves, even though everyone called them werewolves. They were just giant wolf-like creatures,
Yeah.
and um, I wanted to have them like that, like have stripes or have spots and all that. But I didn't have enough money to give the colorists, enough incentive to do that.
Right, right.
So, God bless them, they did fantastic work. But yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to like readdress, like when we do ours, just because it's just something different I haven't seen too much of with werewolves and stuff
Mhm.
like that, because they are like, yeah, wolves, but like bringing the more of the dog aspect and more of the
Yeah.
fun part of it,
Yeah,
like you did, the tongue hanging out when it's like,
Well,
that's the
it's
comedy that's built into the world. That's, we were kind of
right.
talking about earlier, where it's like, that's the best kind
yeah.
of comedy, is like when it's built into the world. That's
It
there. It's not
it's
super
interesting
intentional,
that
but it's definitely gonna give a chuckle.
yeah. It's interesting because like we kind of ran into, I guess, a similar problem with our color, not a problem, like, but like our colorist, where like when we were doing the first issue, uh actually the first three issues, like we had like a budget that we had, and we
Mm.
couldn't really like, he would give us great work, and it was just sort of like, okay, but I want to push this further, but we're not really giving him like a ton of money to like really go hard on him. So I was just like, just send me the Photoshop files. Is it
Mhm.
cool if I go over some of this stuff? And so like I went back in for the first three issues. um I did like minor stuff, like little things to like like add like little patterns here and there, or just like little extra textures here and there, nothing crazy. I didn't, because I didn't want to take away from his work at all. But like I get that,
Mm-hmm.
uh
Yeah.
wanting to add the little extra stuff. um
Yeah.
he unfortunately had to bow out after issue three, Nicholas, our colorist, unfortunately. But so we got this guy Rosh coming in for issue four, taking over. I forget what else he's worked on. Did he work on like some Hellboy stuff, like some like
Uh,
side universe stuff?
yeah, I think so. And he also
Yeah.
did a series called Giga with Vault.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was him. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's awesome. He came in and did the fourth
Yeah.
issue, and it was almost like no notes, almost. But yeah, unfortunately, Nicholas had uh, uh,
There's
to
a
step
medical
away.
issue.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I don't want to give away his whole
yeah.
spot. It was no hard feelings or anything. He was awesome,
Yeah.
but like he just had to, he couldn't continue on. So,
Well,
um, but yeah,
yeah, no, yeah, I totally understand it, and I think yeah, and not that you're not saying anything but but good things about the colors. I do think they
yeah,
look really great. I like this. I kind of like this more. It's not flat style, but it's flatter. It's
right.
not heavily
Mhm.
rendered, and I really dug
Yeah.
how it worked with your work. Especially with some
Yeah.
added textures here and there, kind of is, because as much as I love, a lot of colors who have a lot of rendering and basically paint
Mhm.
every fucking page, um,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, I think sometimes it's just like it's too much, and
Yeah.
it's, and the best colorists who can, kind of do whatever they got to do that fits the art or whatever, and,
Yeah.
and they recognize that. Just like artists the same way.
Yeah.
You can always
Mhm.
draw too much. But
Yeah.
y-
I've made it a point to like, I'm coloring all my covers on this. But like I'm leaving the interiors to Nicholas, then Rosh for four. And then like I said, just like little touches here and there. And it's just like to make because I know we can only give them what's within the budget that's given to us. So like we're me handling it is like I was like, all right, I can take it. Like I want it done um, more than anyone.
Well,
Um,
yeah, but also,
and
I guess doing it that way, you also kind of established a visual style. Like here's
for
where
sure,
how
yeah,
I'm doing the cover.
Yeah.
Here's kind of like the vibe to start going off with.
hmm
You know,
yeah,
and yeah, again, like I said, it meshes really well. I like seeing it that way, and as an artist yourself, like, is there you've probably been colored by dozens of people a dozen different
hmm
ways. Was there one that stood out to you the most as like, oh wow, I didn't, like, in a positive way, because we're not going to talk shit
yeah,
about anybody here, but
yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah.
in a positive way, that you're like, oh wow, I didn't know how this was going to work out, or they did something I didn't expect them to do, but it
I
turned
mean,
out.
I'd say Nicholas did a lot of that, and so did Rosh here in Heartpiercer. Rhonda Pattison on
Mhm.
Turtles has done a lot for me. That is like really cool. That I didn't like. It's probably one of my. I don't know if it's. I don't want to say. Rhonda's probably up there with one of my favorite colorists that's colored me. Um, and um, and Rhonda, it's funny because like what she's been doing on Turtles has kind of been what they've been doing on Turtles for like the whole run. So I mean, she's been on every issue. So like, uh, it's almost like she's just like plugging in what works for everyone that she's colored, and I'm it happened, and I guess it works for me too. Um, and, the colorist of Dead Legends did a really good job too. Which that was mean. So no, but like going into that, like I would worry about like how the page is inked first, and I'd be like, oh, I'll worry about it. That's a future Gavin problem. So like, and then when I get to it, then it's like a whole new set of like problem solving. So I actually really like coloring myself, because then it also gives me a chance to go over the line work again
Mhm.
and be like,
Mm.
oh, I can fix this, or I can
Yeah, yeah.
yada yada. Um, but I also have to be realistic, knowing that I can't color everything I draw. Unfortunately, just not enough time.
uh, that's, um, so I'll stop, boosting up Gavin for now. uh,
Yes, let's get rich up
Rich.
here. Yeah.
you've written a ton of great books. I love Wailing Blade. I love, Joe. I love, and
Mhm.
what you brought to that book. And you've done tons of other great stuff. You have, Drive Like Hell coming with Alex McCormick, who's a fantastic. Like, I don't know what that dude can't draw at
Oh
this
yeah.
point.
That's fair.
Uh, I could say that about many people, Gavin included. But yeah, it's just one of those people where it's like, he's doing this now. All right, cool. It looks great. I didn't know what I would expect,
Yeah.
but of course it looks great. Um, is playing with genres something you kind of like actively seek out to do with each successive project, or is it just you kind of just write, you're kind of working on whatever you got in your brain, and then whatever starts boiling over first is what you jump at?
Yeah, I mean, I do like playing with genres and mixing them and things like that, but it really is just it's whatever comes in my brain, and also just like I don't really want to get like pigeonholed into like one genre or another. You know what I mean? Like I like I want to I want to have the freedom to you know tell whatever story I want to tell. Like like if it's a fantasy story, it's a fantasy story. If it's
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi, it's sci-fi. Um, if it's horror. Like and part of it's also part of it is not wanting to be tied down, but part of it's also just like I want to kind of push my own limits and see what I can do and what I can't do. Like I never um really like thought I would ever do horror. Like if you had asked me like, at the very beginning of when I started writing, like, oh, do you have any interest in writing horror? I probably been like, well, I like horror, but like I don't, you know, I don't think I'd be any good at it, but I kind of proved myself wrong there because my horror stuff is probably some of my most um, popular books. But it really just sort of came down to, and I like the first horror book I wrote was Road of Bones, and I was just like no, like this is like a horror book like set like in the real world, like this is what it has to be, and I'm gonna challenge myself and see if I can write it good, and you know, and it succeeded. So
Yeah, I'd say
yeah,
so.
like yeah,
I you know
like
yeah, I really feel you there with the horror thing, because when I
yeah,
was first starting to draw comics, like I didn't think I'd be drawing horror comics, and not that everything I draw is like rooted in deep horror or anything like that, but it's all like horror adjacent, and I'm like,
hmm
I guess I am now. It's fun, I guess, but it's like
Yeah.
I did not expect to be drawing a rock and roll vampire book, and a book that's essentially every B movie idea tossed into one giant pot of insanity. And I guess I am now, but it's fun. We're
yeah,
doing it.
Yeah.
People
yeah. No,
seem, yeah, people seem to like it,
sorry.
and your work is
Yeah,
obviously, at least the circles I run, very well received, and you seem to have found a muse in an unexpected place, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Like I was let's say, like I have this book coming out like later this year. I think it's coming out in August with Mad Cave. It's called The Phone Call Away, and it's just like a straight up crime book. And like I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, like no ghosts, no monsters, no ray guns. Like it's just crime. Like this is what we got to do. Like nothing out of the ordinary whatsoever. And it's like yeah, it's like all right, let's give it a shot.
All right, I
So
guess. I guess it'll be
yeah,
good. No, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's definitely something like I think a lot about too. Is like the next thing is like, do I do like a hard pivot away from all of this? Because to be honest,
right.
if I thought like what I would be drawing now would be probably something more akin to a heart piercer type of thing, or something like that, not what I'm doing now. So yeah, I just I guess you just got to keep it. You just got to keep your options open, because you never know what cool thing you're gonna do next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I think that's a little bit of what like attracted me to when we were putting this together, and it was one of the options that
Mm-hmm.
Rich showed me. Like I was like, this isn't like anything I've done before, and I was really kind of grateful for that, because like I mean I'm coming off the grounded martial arts book. I've done like the hard sci-fi with
Yeah.
Trek,
Mhm.
uh, um, the time travel with Accelerator, all that stuff, and I'm like, all right, need something that's kind of like I've done all this before. I've done
Yeah.
superhero. I've done you know
Yeah.
now weird mutants and the anthropomorphic books. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, like
Yeah.
the this has been fun.
I mean, like not even like you wanna like even going back to like Wailing Blade, like when I was talking to Joe Mulvey about drawing that, like he was kind of unsure because he was the only book he had done at that point was Scam, which was like superheroes,
Ocean's 11
and he
superheroes.
really
Yeah.
like and he just wanted to draw like superheroes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think when I asked him to do Welling Blade, I don't think he had even seen Star Wars, the movie. Um,
Wow.
and it was just not like a science fiction fantasy guy like whatsoever. And I was like, I know. I was like, but you've got this like really like expressive like action, like like if you I was like, just like just think about it. Like, what would you do like if you were going to do this? And he just like once he bought in, like he was like all in,
Yeah.
and just like wound up like I think pushing himself to places that he wouldn't have even guessed that like he would have gone. So
Yeah.
I
And
think it's
yeah,
just
I can't
yeah,
imagine that book with anybody else.
yeah,
Yeah,
And
it was a
and
good fit.
that's part of the unexpected fun journey when you're creating things, is just finding yourself in a place where you're like, I've never done this before. I guess I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me give it a shot. And then you just find out, it's how we grow as artists. That's how we grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the thing too that also attracted me to this. Besides that, it was like I after Dead Legends, I was coming off of this, and then like I was getting a lot of offers from people to draw their fight books, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I like, and it was more creator owned stuff. And I was like, if I'm gonna focus on like a fight book that's creator owned, I'm gonna work on my thing, like that's
Yeah.
me and James's thing. So like, I'd rather work with either buds and like stuff that's like a major property. Like if I'm not doing my own thing, I'm either doing like I consider this with Rich like my own thing too, like because we're in on it together. But like I'm doing my own thing that I get a part of, or I'm doing something that's gonna like elevate my career that puts eyes on my own things afterwards. So
for both of you, I'm sure it's like you're attracted to doing something that's like, I haven't done something like this before. It's a different audience. It's a different set of people to kind of like show myself and my work to, that hopefully widens the base of people who are aware of you and know your work, and therefore lets you go on to another thing. And that way, when you're telling stories that you want to tell, or have your own creator books that you want to get out, you have a larger foundation of people who are familiar with you to show it to and to do all that. And I'm sure, whether we think about that or not, that is some sort of like underlying current with everybody when you're thinking about what you're doing next. For sure. For me and other people I've spoken to, it's best if it's not like your prevailing thought, because you're always chasing something you're never going to get then. But it is something you got to kind of be aware of. Like, am I just doing the same thing over and over and over again? Like, and how it's going to be diminishing returns no matter what, no matter how good. It's just a fact of life. So what
there's
I'm getting,
I was just gonna say, there's this like quote by like David Bowie that I love, that I'm probably gonna mangle, but the basic gist of it was just that, like, if you're like totally comfortable, and like if you're working on something and you're totally comfortable, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough. And like basically, like if you're like a little bit afraid while you're doing it, that's like a sign that you're onto something, and it's something that could be great.
100%. I've heard of a similar quote, like, was it confidence is not comfort? But and it's just something to keep in mind, because if you're like, okay, I got this, I'm doing this, we're doing great, that doesn't mean you're comfortable doing it. But then once once you feel like you're like, okay, I can coast on this, and it's like, oh, then what am I doing? What I was going to say earlier was like, so what I'm getting to after all this is like, so when are we going to get your guys' take on a romance comic or something like that? Let's just go up for all the genres, right?
Well, who knows? Maybe volume 2. I wouldn't hate that. We're still trying to figure out.
When are you guys going to be on? When are you guys going to be on? Archie and a Jughead.
Oh my god! Well, here's the thing: if I were on Archie, I'd want to do something like the Archies.
Yeah.
I think that would be. That would be the book to do. For me.
Well, you have the band background. You have the music.
I'd want to tell, like, see, that's where I would try to get funny, because then I'd tell like tour stories of where I was,
Archie's behind the music. Right?
Yeah, oh my god, I'd love that. I'd basically, oh my god, no, I won't get into that. I won't give away my Archie pitch.
Because they've been doing some crazy stuff. So who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, didn't they have like one where like Archie was like fighting the Predator or something? It's
there's Archie. There's
there were
Archie
like,
Punisher as well.
They're willing to like go out there with their stuff. So
I was Fernando Ruiz drew that Archie versus Predator, and I think I was a student of his when he had that. It's funny.
Awesome. I have one last question for you both before I let you guys go and get some well-deserved rest, and that is just general process. I always like to, inquire what people's processes are and how they kind of go about things. And I'll start with you, Rich. So I know for writing, you're writing all the time in your brain, no matter what. Something's lines are coming, whatever plots are being hashed and rehashed and all that. But when you actually, plop yourself down, I'm gonna start typing with that. What's that like? Do you put music on? Do you have a specific program you like to write into? Do you have what's the minutia of that? Because we can talk all day about brushes and things like that artists love and all the little quirks we have with the things we do. Writers are you're not better than us in that. You got your own little things you gotta make sure are perfect and are right or whatever, or just down and dirty getting into. So what is that? What is that for you, Rich?
Yeah, I like to throw music on. I think it helps me focus. Like the one thing with music is like if I'm writing, then I like to write with to music that's like familiar to me,
Mm-hmm.
because then it kind of like fades into the background a little bit, but drowns everything else out. But I'm not like sort of like thinking very hard about like, oh, what is this song, or like, like I don't get like sidetracked. Um, but definitely put music on with headphones, or I'll just like play music depending on where I am. Programs, I just use sorry, I just use Microsoft Word or Google Docs. I've tried using like fancier writing programs that have like or supposed to like make it like easier to script, but I don't know. I just find it much easier to just do it myself. Like, even if it like takes me a little more time, just like sort of like mentally, I'm just like, no, I'm just going to do it this way.
You'd rather hit
Um,
Command B and make it bold,
yeah,
yourself. And like, yeah,
I just like to do it that way.
it's funny because like I had to write a script recently for a turtle story, and like I was using Pages on
uh
Apple, and I think that's supposed to be designed for that to make things easier. And I was just still doing everything manually. I was like,
yeah,
like I'm just
Well,
yeah. Like there's all
yeah.
sorts of stuff you can like set up, like
yeah,
macros. So like, and I'm just like, no, like
yeah,
it'll take me like an extra like 10 minutes to format it. And like,
right.
I'll just do it like, I'll do it the way I want to do it.
I mean,
But
yeah. I don't want
yeah,
to age you all with me. I'm 41. I don't know the ages I'm talking to right now. I'm not going to assume anything, but
38.
people around my age, we come from the generation that we grew up with technology, but also technology where you had to do just a bit more shit to get it the way you need it. And
yeah.
Right.
it's a lot harder to like adapt to like, oh no, just relearn how you do everything with how to do this thing, and then it'll do all that work for you. No, that sounds like too much. I will take the extra 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
Right.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
to do all the stuff I know how to do it, because yeah, it's just not worth it for me, because I've tried scripting
Yeah.
before. Yeah, I have scripted before, but yeah, I end up just going Microsoft Word, Google Docs, because that's just what it is.
Mm,
I no final draft, no
Yeah.
Scrivener, no whatever you want to call it. No,
yeah.
it's too fancy for me.
Yeah. But a lot of times what I'll do, like if I'm starting, like let's say like I'm starting the script like from scratch, like um I'll have my outline from before, and I'll like chop up the outline
Hmm.
page by page, and I'll literally go in, I'll be like page one, like this is what's happening on page one, page two, this is what's happening on page two. Just so I sort of like have like just so I sort of have like a rough guide of like where things land, and then I'll like move things around. Um, if I feel like, oh no, this beat really should happen on a page turn, so I'm gonna move this down, or like I feel like this fight scene should be like quicker or longer, like
Hmm.
it's just sort of like it helps me with the pacing, like um, just sort of like having like a rough idea of like what's going to be coming on like every page, and then I'll just go through and I start on page one and I just keep going. Like I don't usually, I know some people kind of like will jump around and write like scenes, and I have done that sometimes, but generally like I just sort of start at page one, just go right through. Another thing I do that I'm not sure everyone does is sometimes I'll have like dialogue in my head and I'll write it out, but a lot of times I'll have like a general idea of what I want them to say, but not really like a sense of like the rhythm yet. So I'll start out writing like all the action, like the panels, uh, you know, decide how many panels like I'm going to ask for on the page and write out the panels without any dialogue. But like as I'm doing it, I'm kind of hearing the dialogue in my head, and then I'll go back and then put the dialogue in, and it's like I go through every page like I probably like two or three times, like as far as like adding, taking away, and like stuff like that. So that's what I do. That's like what works for me, because it just sort of helps me. It just helps me kind of like visualize like as I'm going, like just like focusing on like, all right, like what are we going to see here, and then like and like I'll sort of like hear it in my head, plays out like a movie or something, and then I'll go back and like transcribe it.
But I really like what I've heard from your approach. I feel like that's something I should probably make notes of and try next time I'm trying to script something out, because the idea of just breaking everything down to pages and doing all that, I kind of do that a little bit now with Spend the Night, because Jackie gives me like a movie script style script, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll break down where I think the page breaks are and everything like that, and then we kind of like bat it back and forth from there. So like just the idea of breaking everything down, and one thing you mentioned about the dialogue, kind of like replaying it over and over in the head. You know, sorry if I did not mention this before, but like your dialogue flows very well. Like it feels like it's like so smooth sometimes. It's just like you're reading the page and you're like, oh man, like
Thanks.
it just like it. So I that seems to be working the way you're doing it, at least to me. Everything just kind of like flows very naturally, and I don't, the best things about the best comics I read are the comics when I'm reading it, I'm not reading a comic. I'm just like not cognizant of like I'm reading words on a page, I'm looking at images.
Yeah.
I'm just in it and I'm experiencing it. And that happens, it happened with Heartpiercer, it happens with Wailing Blade. So, hearing the process of behind that, that sounds like some sauce I need to add to my Don stew to make this metaphor gross.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So speaking of
Trying to make
stews,
stew a
Gavin,
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
what's your general process like? What's the ins and outs?
Oh my gosh. I feel like it's gotten a little bit different now, especially with lately since I've been working on more property stuff where it's
Mhm.
just like a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
So like whenever I do like my roughs and stuff, I kind of have to like get those all done at once, then turn them in for approval and wait for all that to come back. But coming back to create our own stuff, like Heartpiercer, is nice because then I just kind of do my roughs. I show Connor, our editor, and I kind of don't really wait for him. I think I'm supposed to, but I just kind of do.
It's a
I
heads
just
up
like
more
jump
than a
right.
check in to see how I'm doing.
It kind of is, and that's really what's nice about working with Dark Horse on this. And I guess as a creator own thing, they're just like at the end of the day, like he's told us, like this is your guys' book, so you guys can
Yeah.
literally do whatever the hell you want, and like we're gonna back you on it.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm here to like help guide you along best I can, like whether on the business end or like if you need creative input, he's more than willing to offer it because he's a writer as well, and as an editor he sees he's in the business, he knows all this stuff, he speaks the language, so um but really it is kind of just like a heads up and I just jump right into it. And so I'll with Heartpiercer, I'll just kind of jump right into it. And I mean, usually what I'll do is with Rich, and I'll actually print out the script, or I'll go get it printed at like FedEx and like staple it, and I'll sit down and read it, and I'll like look at everything, and I'll label everything I need to label, whether it's like, all right, this page is 5 panels, so like, is it 5 panels, or do I need an extra beat, or does it need a beat taken away? And you know, Rich and I think work well enough together. Like, he trusts me to make those decisions, or it's like, can I combine these beats and stuff like that? So I'll go through it and do that, and then I'll kind of sit with it for a day, where I'll just kind of like let it absorb, and like then I get into my roughs and I'll do all those. And once I figure out my roughs, and I try to figure out like the most important panel on the page, and I'll make that the biggest, or get me that my concentration, and I'll kind of revolve the storytelling around that. And then I always try to find like a fun design for a page, and like, but based on that most important panels, like, okay, this is the shot I need. This is the money shot of this page. Even if it's not as that exciting of a page, I always try to give something like a big kind of moment, like even if it's like a quiet moment or establishing scene, whatever. And then I'll find a design for the page, and then that's always kind of the fun part, is figure out a nice design that conveys clear storytelling. And then then the straight up penciling, inking, all that fun stuff. I've been going in with HEARTPIERCER a lot, doing a little bit of a little bit more washes, and more like focused washes on some of it. Especially like in these quiet moments where like I'm just like, oh, okay, this could kind of use like a little nice little subtle wash to like really like kind of slow things down. And then when it gets to like some hard action stuff, I'll just go more straight black and white ink, because it's just like more stark and to the point. And then I was doing some I think more in the first issue more than anything, because like we had a lot of time to put this first issue together. We put like half the first issue together before we got accepted at Dark Horse.
Yeah.
And then going back, and we finished the issue. Oh, here's a fun story, I guess. When we got approved for HEARTPIERCER at Dark Horse, and then this is maybe about like a week or two before New York in 2022, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so we get to New York, and like, I think the Wednesday before the show, the contract for Dark Horse arrives in our email. And then I'm like, okay, sweet. I have work going home. Like, I'm happy, which is like great. Like, and like Dark Horse wasn't even there, but it's just nice coming home from a big show like New York, knowing you have work to get to. And then on Friday of New York, I got offered Turtles. So I was like, oh shit. So I of course I said yes. So as soon as like Turtles like left my table, like Rich was like my first stop. I like ran over to his table, and I was like, hey man, you got to start cranking these scripts out, because Turtles needs me in March, and it was like October at the time. It's like, we've got like 4 or 5 months, so like get like as much done as possible. And so like we like started cooking, and like we really I think the first 3 issues we were able to get done. And like we were like pretty stoked on those. And then like I think I got a couple pages into the 4th issue, and then Turtles came a calling, and so I had to like go do that. But like it worked out that I was able to do like Dark Horse was just like, yeah, it's fine, like it's not coming out till 2024 anyway. So we were like, oh great. So like it worked out. Or like, I forget what happened. It was like a scheduling thing. I think it was originally supposed to come out last September, and then it just kept kind of getting pushed and pushed, and here we are. It's finally coming out. But yeah, like and then when it kind of came back around to the 4th issue, I had time again, because like I had started it and they were like giving us the time, and I didn't feel rushed, and it was the only thing I was working on for a minute. And like I just kind of sat down and I was like okay, I've got like, there's some really nice quiet moments and really intense moments in the last issue, and like I was able to like kind of do like the subtle ink washy stuff I was talking about earlier with that, and then there is more hard action like it's a nice combo of the two. um and like, yeah, and just some really lush moments and stuff too, and just like the fact that I'm that also this is these 4 issues, like this is the first time you're seeing this world, so I wanted to give that a lot of concentration
Yeah.
too, and make it feel credible.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if we do like outlandish and fantastical things, I want you to feel like it can really exist.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things to hear is that as creators, we don't often get a lot of chances to like really sit with something and really
Yeah.
delve into it, especially when it's first starting, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we do. There's always like kind of akin to like the musicians having like their first album. They've had the whole year, their whole life to write that first album, and then they got 2 years
Right.
for the next one.
Right.
So it's like it's pretty much the same thing with comics. Like your first like create your own comic, like maybe you've had this idea for years, you've been gestating it and working it and doing all these things, but now you don't always get a chance to sit with pages and really think like, what, I could do it better
Mm-hmm.
this way, I could refine this more. We don't get that luxury, so it's kind of cool that you were able to, at least in some
Yeah.
part, really give it a little bit more of that extra time and love.
Yeah, and like, to be fair, I think the issues 2 and 3 I actually turned out really fast. Um but like I don't think to its detriment. Like I think the fact that I was kind of under the gun a little bit
Mhm.
brought out something crazy in me, and I was just like I was just moving on those issues, I think.
Well, there's definitely something said to operating
Yeah.
under pressure as well. There's
Yeah.
it's
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
when we came back from the 4th issue, like Turtles had me on 4 weeks an issue deadlines. So I was like just I like, within 5 months I had cranked out like about 100 pages and however many covers I was doing at the
Mhm.
time. And it was that was insane. So I was like 100 pages better in the middle of Heartpiercer than coming
Yeah.
back to it. Actually, more than that, because I think we put the first pitch together as I was getting Star Trek. I think, does that sound
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah. So
mean,
like
yeah, I think,
so like in 2021, and then I got Star Trek, so I did all of Star Trek, came back, we got the pitch all put together, and then did about 50 pages of it and something like that, and then I did all of Turtles, then I'm back to Heartpiercer, and so
Mhm.
Do you think
I
that
got 100 pages better at something
Mhm.
in between there.
Do you think the Turtles experience made you just faster in general, or is it just, no, I know I can work faster, but I don't want to?
Both. I knew I was pretty fast.
Mhm.
Like I've been fast before, and usually it's to a detriment. But like I think because it was Turtles and it was something that I had wanted to work on for so long,
Mhm.
like it was very comfortable drawing that. And not to say I was being lazy, I was putting my all into it, but it was like, but it felt natural. Like if of any property I've ever worked on, like Star Trek was really hard for me. I liked it a lot, but it was still really hard. But Turtles was like a very natural fit. So I've been like just I felt like I just plowed through that in like a
Yeah.
good way. Um, and then um, but which was great because like I know I can work that fast, and I knew I was getting better, and I was still producing, I think, pretty good quality work. And then it come back to Heartpiercer where I could just really like sink my teeth into it and take my time was really nice. So I feel like there's a different I don't want to say level of quality. There's still like a level of care. There's different levels of care put into each book. But I think with HEARTPIERCER, like it's really me taking my time. I guess the best way of putting it. I work hard on both the books. It's I don't know.
I mean, I think anyone who's ever worked on anything in a creative fashion knows that you know it can go both ways. You know, there could be the thing you're doing fast, but you know you have such a deep appreciation and love for it, or it feels so comfortable to you. You're still busting your ass, but you're able to get through it. You know, and you know, if I haven't said it already, like, you know, you on Turtles was like a big, you know, well, yeah, no shit, that would be great.
Yeah.
Moment, you know.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between, you know, me drawing Leonardo, who I've been drawing since I was 4, and me drawing Kern, who I created with Rich 3 years ago, or I created his costume, and have all like once you all see these details in his armor, if you're loyal listener, if you pick up the book, I hope you do, like you'll get it. Like, I've drawn turtles all my life, I know how to just do that. I can do it with my eyes closed at this point. But like Kern, it's like his armor is such a crazy level of detail and concentration that like it's requires just time.
It's definitely the kind of artistic shooting yourself in the foot I really appreciate, because it's something I definitely
carve that
have
on my
done
tombstone
at times myself and things, and will probably most likely definitely do in the future. But it's just that's also part of the fun of it too. Like you make this impressively detailed, cool thing, and it's like, okay, now I got to draw it 50 times in this issue. I should have thought about that beforehand, but I didn't. Let's go. We're gonna do it. A few more silhouettes in this issue. Help me out a little bit, but no, that's awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing a late night podcast. This is when I got to do them, but I know some
it's all
for
good.
the East Coast folk, it's rough, and for the normal non-night owl people, it's rough. It can be a little rough too. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Now is the time to let everybody know where they can find you on social media, and also I know Gavin, you'll be at C2E2 later this month. This episode will be dropping, I think. I think this will be dropping after C2E2. So
that's fine. I'm going to be a lot of other places coming up.
He was there. So I don't know if Rich, if you'll be there this year. I haven't caught
no, not this year.
Bummer.
Yeah, but hopefully next.
Okay, if you find yourself with a time machine, go back in time to C2E2. Go say hi to Gavin. Go buy his other books, because his other books are awesome as well. And then go back further to, I believe it was 2020, and go see Rich at C2E2. And then buy the books he had there, and then come back and then buy the books now, if that's not confusing enough. No, gentlemen, I can't wait to see issue 2 of HEARTPIERCER. I hope issue 1 does gangbusters. I hope it gets the love I feel and know it deserves. And let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
I'm at Gavin P. Smith on Twitter, Instagram, gavinsmithcomics.com. Like I said, I'll be at C2E2, but I'll be at like Motor City. Just go check gavinsmithcomics.com, see where I'm going to be. I just updated that thing. So, and there's a bunch of the laundry list of releases I have coming out this year is on there as well.
I'm at R DOUEK, DOUEK. It's tricky, so you might want to go back and listen to that. But I'm not. That's my name on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. I've managed to get it pretty much everywhere because there's not a lot of R DOUEKs out there. And along those lines, you can go to rdouek.com. That's my website. Got all my projects up there, and you can sign up for my newsletter. I send that out once or twice a month just to kind of keep everybody updated on what I got going on. And all right, there you go.
All right, and there'll be links to all that in the show notes below. Once again, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don.